All right, now we're joined with our latest guest here on the big conversation, Concordia into the NCAAs for the first time. Coach Casey Greenawalt is here. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg?
Doing okay, doing okay. Hey, exciting stuff for you. What a run here for Concordia. First, the men make it for the first time back in December, and now the women's opportunity. What has this moment been like for you? I know a long-time goal to bring this squad to the NCAAs.
Yeah, no, it's been worthwhile for sure. A lot of up and downs this year with adversity and injuries, that kind of stuff. But really super proud of our team and just the way that we stayed together. It's been our word of the week for 3 weeks now, just togetherness, and we're doing all these things together, and it's been a lot of fun. Very rewarding to see the girls' hard work pay off. I mean, we get after it all the time, and I tell recruits coming in, we're going to work as hard as every Division I program, if not harder, and just make it happen, right? We make it work is what we try to say. We make it work no matter what.
The big change for this program, making the move from the GCC to the WWPA, what was that transition like? And it wasn't, even though you're at where you're at now, right? It wasn't a cakewalk to kind of get
Right.
through that league, even though you were switching conferences. What's that transition been like for you and the team?
Yeah, I know, exciting. Definitely, I'm thankful for my administration supporting that change. But we were playing the GCC, and obviously some great teams there, and we were hopeful to get into a semifinal game, and that would have been, the championship for us. Just being a little bit behind with resources and scholarships and all that kind of stuff. So this change put us in a conference, all Division II conference, like our school. So we're playing with teams that are like us with scholarships and resources and the athletes, and a smaller school. So it's been a great change for us. And now, winning a semifinal game is now the goal, and everything after that's icing on the cake, just like us going this week to the NCAAs, right? We get in a semifinal game, you win, and we're in the championship game. Anything can happen, just like at NCAAs, anything can happen. So that's where we put ourselves, and here we are, right after a lot of hard work.
You talked about the team training like a Division I team. You look at your schedule, you play a really competitive schedule. It's very similar to what another Division I program might play. And as you chart the course through the season, you knock off your fair share of D1 teams, right? Wins over Santa Barbara, I think LaSalle, as you move through the year, but then dropping some games in your league. So you talked about injuries. What was kind of the peaks and valleys of this regular season just to get to the postseason?
Yeah, that's part of our plan. We definitely want to pick up all the Division I schools that we can play. I mean, you got to play the best to start learning how to practice like the best, really. So we've gotten crushed by a few times. Even the last 3 years, we've gotten crushed by some really good schools. But every time we turn around that Monday morning practice, Tuesday, we talk about the pressure they put on us. We talk about the speed, the intensity of the game. So we try to bring up our level of training, and every time we've done that, we've turned around and made some progress, small steps over the last 3 years, and then this is the fourth year now, my fourth year leading this program, and kind of put it all together with still a relatively young squad. So a lot of freshmen and sophomore heavy, doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and our juniors and seniors obviously did a great job too. But so that's been fun. But going through those, the adversity, I mean, my starting center is out, for most of the year. The freshman center who I brought in was hoping to learn and make mistakes and earn some playing time. Actually ended up being our starting center for a majority of the time. And then she got sick, and she was out for almost a month. She missed a lot of our conference games. So people just kind of like, hey, I'm going to put you in here. We're going to work for this for a week and see how it goes. It worked. We ran with it. Sometimes it didn't work, and we change. And you just have to keep making adjustments all through it, depending on your personnel and how it's going. But playing those Division I teams really help out, right? They push us and challenge us and makes our practices and training better. And we try to make our training more difficult than games, essentially. Like even this week's training, Monday, we got after it. Today was a little bit easier day, but all last week, other than 2 days off that I gave them, we got after it pretty hard, and hopefully that pays off this weekend for sure. But the adversity and just the typical injury here, a lot of shoulder stuff going on. We do all kind of prehab stuff to work on that, but inevitably in our sport, there's just so much pulling and throwing that you're going to have some shoulder injuries. So we're still facing that. We were still not healthy going in this game, but we're gonna give it our best for sure.
Yeah, we're talking here with Casey Greenawalt, Concordia. They've got Wagner on tap here, opening round action Wednesday night in San Diego. So talking before that matchup, which is up next for the team. When you look at your league, the WWPA, as you entered this conference, I'm sure you had a sense that Biola was going to be an impediment to your success, right? They had very quickly become a strong program in that conference. And you talked about availability and injuries, and so not sure what the lineups were like as the season went along. But you look at that first meeting with Biola, to where you got to that championship. They handled you pretty well that first time around. And then you get into this pitcher's duel in the final. So how did things change in your meetings with this program over the course of the season?
Yeah, I think the first game was a lot more mental. I think our young squad being in the first conference game of the year, and we know that Biola is the top dog in our conference. I think it was a little bit over our head. We also had a great fan turnout. We had a Friday Night Lights game here in Irvine. So, I mean, the stands were full. All their friends and family and professors were out there. So I think there was just a little too bright of lights for us on that game. And, we didn't do anything absolutely terrible, but we had a lot of turnovers, and we just weren't playing as a team, really. I mean, just too many people trying to make the hero play over and over again, and those weren't working out for us. And kind of I wouldn't say we went back to the drawing board, but we went back to our plans, right? And working together, using the clock, really focusing on our defense, as you said, a pitching duel there, 4-3 for a championship game. I would have been happy 4-3 at the end of the first quarter, maybe at halftime, but hey, we put 4 of them away, and we have a pretty deep team. I'm really excited about being able to go 6 for 6 for a lot of the second and third quarter, and not losing any momentum, and building that squad depth, I think really helps us out. I mean, 8 minutes. It's always interesting when freshmen come in and they're not playing a lot. They think, oh, I must be sucking. But you can't play 8 minutes straight at this level. It's just not. You could, but you're just not going to be very good, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to be able to go 2-3 minutes. Maybe 4 at the max, and weather some storms a little bit. But then you need your subs to recuperate and get back out there. And I think our team really did a great job at that. But I think that first matchup was just the lights. It was too exciting for them, too nerve-wracking. Never been into that conference game. Obviously, we've been talking about conference all year long, right? So, and those are the most important games in our schedule. But that we turned around right after that, and then we went on a 7-0 run in conference, and then conference championship set ourselves up with a bye that first game, and got to play everybody in that game, right? We still won, but we played everybody in that game and rest some of the starters, and we were a little bit more fresh for Saturday and Sunday.
Looking at that final 4-3, you just don't see games like that very often. It's few and far between. As that game is progressing, I imagine in one hand you're pretty stoked. Hey, we've only allowed 3 goals. This is an excellent job on the defensive end. But there's got to be a part of you that thinks, man, we need more offense. Like 4, 3, or 2. Like it's not going to do it. How did mentally you progress through that game with it being such a low scoring affair?
Yeah, simple, really. I just tell them to keep shooting. We were taking the right shots. We were taking the correct shots. A lot of them right at the goalie. Their goalie played really well. We clearly have a rivalry with Biola, with our schools. We're in the same conference, non-water polo conference as well. So there were, again, great fan turnout again. The Biola men's team was there. The Concordia men's team was there. They were loud and rowdy, and just the excitement of that. But just keep shooting, keep doing what we're doing, and really focus on our defense. I mean, our goalie, Jaden Soto, obviously played really, really well, but we also helped her out a lot by, forcing bad angle shots and late in the clock, and kind of like throw the ball up kind of shots, and they turn around and cover on defense. So we kept focusing on our defense, and that's what led to that win. And then, the shots are inevitably going to keep falling if we keep taking the right shots. So we just got to keep shooting, basically.
You look at your opponent coming up here on Wednesday night, Wagner. Similarities in the sense that it's a team that also schedules difficult opponents right outside of their league. Will pick off a higher ranked team every now and again, but then finds themselves in a dogfight some years in their conference. When you scout for them, what are the challenges they present, and how do you prepare for the Seahawks? Yeah,
they're long and fast. They got obviously experience too. This is their 3rd year going at this, right? So they're going to feel pretty comfortable scouting them. I mean, I'm actually pretty excited about it. I try to build our program to play at that level, to play in a standard 3-3 and get the ball to center and movement on the outside. But I mean, they have some really good centers, some good outside shooters. Their goalie play is good. Clearly, Coach Josh knows what he's doing. Like they're always in the top end of that. And I mean, they had a 1-goal game with Princeton right at the end before their conference tournament. So we know it's going to be a dogfight. We got to stay in it and stick to what our guns are, whether we go up or down. We're going to stick to our defense and keep shooting. Having those youngsters keep shooting even when they miss it. We know we're going to miss some shots, but higher percentage shots for us, and just keep on our focus. But focus on defense. But, we're excited about this matchup. It's something that we've been definitely thinking about. And, they're a lot like a lot of the Division I programs that we get to play here locally. So we're hoping that we're prepared for it for sure.
What's been the response campus-wide? Obviously, the men with their performance in December, making NCAAs, and now the women. How have the school administrators, the fans, students responded to this surge here from Concordia Water Polo?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a tough time with winning sometimes. I don't do it too often. So when we get here, like I'm already thinking about the next game. I mean, I even said it in my interview after the championship game, I'm thinking about Tuesday practice. What do I got to do? So I'm moving on a little bit. But then when I got to campus, I mean, the emails, the phone calls, every time I stop and walk to my office, there's 2 or 3 people telling you congratulations. The obviously our administration is super happy, especially with the men's program, women's program. Justin and I both, helped turn this program into a winning culture here, and it's paying off. It's paying off for our school with just publicity and that kind of thing, and bringing eyes to this. I mean, I've been in the water polo game a long time. I've always known about Concordia. I had no idea where the campus was. I mean, it's right here in the heart of Irvine, right next to UCI, and it's beautiful. It's small. You never know about this place, and now hopefully we're getting some more eyes, and more people will consider our program. And but it's definitely good. In fact, our beach volleyball team just won a national championship yesterday, and just came in, and we celebrated them. So, overall, everybody's just really excited. I mean, it's definitely all over social media and that kind of stuff too, and getting a lot of love from everybody. So we appreciate them, the fans' support, for sure.
You brought up a good point, mentioning Justin, the men's coach. I remember talking to him last season as well around the idea that someone might not know Concordia is in Irvine. You couldn't be in more of a water polo hotbed.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no shortage of high school athletes that then want to potentially keep playing. And it's the first time through for you, but presumably, how does reaching the NCAAs benefit recruiting when you're making that pitch to maybe kids that want to stay home or don't want to go too far from home?
Yeah, I mean, it's still to be said, obviously, right? Sure. But certainly, we're going to use this as trying to get out. I mean, it was something I pitched this last 2 years in my recruiting process, knowing we're going to go to the WPA. Is hey, previously we're trying to just get in the semifinal game. Now we're trying to win a championship every year. It's championship or bust, and we want competitors here. We want people that are going to be competitive in everything they do, whether it's schoolwork or on campus or in the water. So I think this will be a great launching point for us in the future. We're definitely getting looks from a lot of people that maybe wouldn't respond to emails and text messages before, but now we're starting to get some athletes that are interested. And obviously, when we're at this big stage, I mean, you're going to see Concordia there, CUI, and we're going to be on ESPN Plus here tomorrow night, and it can only be positive for sure.
Yeah, I think we're just coming off March Madness in basketball, and sometimes fans get down on their team has to be in an opening round game, but the flip side of that coin is you have a chance to be in a very competitive game and win it, right? I imagine no hard feelings from your group that you have to play an extra day here and go to a playing game.
No, absolutely not. We are just so stoked to be here. I mean, we're still stoked about the championship, right? And like I said, just even the championship win was icing on the cake, right? We just wanted to get to that game, and this is icing on the cake. We got an opportunity to win, tomorrow night. Again, Wagner is a tough team. We're excited about the matchup, though, and I think that some good things could happen. And then we're at that Thursday night banquet that we're all really excited about. And then who knows? And we have Stanford, Friday, and see what we can do.
Well, Casey, we can't talk without showing some love for Riverside, California.
Yeah.
When I think of Casey Greenawalt, I think of Riverside, California. How did that area, you talked about being in the game for 20 years, how did that set the foundation for you in water polo for what you're doing today?
Oh, that's a great question, Greg. I had this conversation with my athletic director yesterday. I've always kind of been the underdog, right? I mean, whether I was coaching a club team or a high school team, or even when I was at CBU on the men's side there, kind of the underdog, and it's that school out there, that area out there in Riverside. What do they know about water polo? And so we've kind of flown under the radar and gotten some wins and start getting recognition. And then, now I'm actually going to have to change that. We're going to have to change our ideas and our mentality here, that we're no longer the underdog. We're now the target of our conference. We're now going to be a target of anybody else that plays us, all those Division I schools that pick us up in the schedule. We're conference champions. We're at the NCAAs every year, hopefully from here out. And, it's definitely going to change our attitudes drastically here, right? We're going to have to do things a little bit different, a little bit better. But, I think that's just part of the growing, and I'm really excited about it. I was able to do it a little bit in the club scene towards the end when I was coaching towards the end and winning a lot of championships and that kind of thing, even high school. And so, it's definitely a cool thing to come from Riverside. And, still people ask, you got pools out there in Riverside? No, of course, we got great pools out there. We've hosted a great many events, as you well know, Greg. But, now I'm out here, and like you said, the mecca of water polo. And now obviously Northern California is right there with us too. But we are right here in the mecca of water polo, and we use Woollett. I mean, there's Junior Olympics championships there every single summer now, and we get to use that pool every day. It's our training facility, our home facility, and pretty blessed to be here for sure.
Those kind of stepping stones, the club, the high school, CBU to where you're at now, how are you better at doing this today than you were 10 years ago or 15 years ago? Like, happen at the time it was supposed to happen at, because that's when you were ready to do it? It's kind of where I'm
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, no, I do. I wish it would have happened sooner, where
Sure.
we could figure out how to win, of course, Greg. But I think development, right? I mean, I don't get the kid that's on the national team already here very often, right? So I am in the development business. I'm going to find kids that maybe been overlooked. They have a little potential here. They're not so good at that. We bring them in. We work with them. We watch film. We do all kinds of evaluations with them, and just developing them from where they come in here. Not just as water polo players, of course, but as humans, and just trying to develop them. I think it's a lot of fun. It's really rewarding for me. I just had an exit interview with one of my athletes just right now, and just seeing how much she's grown in this year in and out of the pool is very rewarding for me as a coach. And it's why I'm here. I know it's my purpose, is to help youngsters, and in this case, young female water polo athletes, and just become better people. And through that, I get to do that through sport, which obviously I have a passion for. I do love this silly sport of ours, and I do most things for it. I've been involved with it forever now. So it's just a blessing for sure. And I'm excited to do it every day. And how hard we work every day gets me up every morning. I get out here real early, and they're excited. They're not excited about 6 a.m. practice. Nobody is, but they're excited to get after it and get better. And I think they see it too. We actually watched a little bit of a quarter of a game back in the fall, and then just kind of compared to our practices now. And everybody was like, oh, we have improved a bit, So seeing that, that light bulb trigger for them is great, because when you're in the middle of it every single day, getting after it, you don't see those big growth spurts. But if you look at it from the beginning to the end, we've done a tremendous job here developing athletes and people. So very excited about it. And I'm super stoked. This is our foundation for this, first 4 years, and who knows what the next 4 years will bring us.
Looking at your team specifically, who's someone that really just deserves more love, right? Like, they're so critical to what you do, and maybe because it is Concordia and people aren't as familiar, they fly a little bit under the radar.
Yeah, definitely Jaden Soto. She's our goalie. I brought her in 3 years ago. I played her a ton as a freshman, and she gave up a lot of goals, but had a lot of crazy saves too, and then got better her sophomore year. And then this year, her junior year, she just has that warrior mentality. Nothing's going to go in. And her and our defense just really gel together. They communicate. They work together. They know the defense knows when they screw up, she's going to have their back with some crazy block, but they also know, with that, if they can force some shots from bad angle, Jaden's going to gobble them up. So really, really want to give her a big shout out for sure. And she'll say it, and she said it at the post interview too. It's all about the defense in front of her, right? Makes her look good, and then she comes up with those big saves. So that would be my big shout out for sure. Obviously, our defense for sure, all of them, right? And then you throw in that goalie in the background. You can do a lot of good things with a great goalie.
Good stuff. Casey Greenawalt, congrats on the win here at WWPA, and then an opportunity at the NCAAs, and wishing you best of luck here against Wagner coming up. And thanks for the time.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
All right, our latest big conversation, NCAA Championship Week here in San Diego. Headman of the Wagner Seahawks, Josh Hauer, is here. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks for being here. Seahawks back at it again, but not without a little spike of the blood pressure up in Poughkeepsie. Golden goal to win the MAAC title. Take me back to that final and just all the drama, all the emotion, and how the Seahawks pulled it off.
Yeah, thank you. There was definitely some drama going throughout the game. In the first quarter, it was tight and all the way through, and some of the officiating. It is what it is, the way with our sport. But I think we were down by 3 at one point, fighting back, always just having that belief. And I think overall we ended up leading for about 30 seconds, and that was in the first overtime, was the only time that we had a lead throughout the game. But I think just overall, we just believed throughout the whole thing that we could do it, and we're able to do it. But yeah, just the last few possessions, Francesca Senna made a couple of great saves. The defense locked down when we needed to. And then Catherine Mentz made a great play at center. It was fantastic. We were in a little bit of foul trouble. So the group that we had out there, and some people stepped up, like Maggie Pike scored a big goal for us to tie with under a minute left. And just some as a senior stepped up, but just as some moments, it was really cool to see the team just stay locked in, believe, and just put it together when we needed it.
Now, something about these East Coast finals. I talked to Ted Minnis earlier this week. You didn't go as long as Harvard did. Four golden goals. He kind of described the ending there, exhaustion, like almost surprised the shot goes in at that point. What was the fatigue level to have to go to that extra session after the OTs, and how does it speak to kind of the training that your team puts in all season long?
Well, honestly, yeah, the East Coast, it's interesting. So we played Princeton the week before on a Wednesday night, something we've done since I've been here and with Derek. It's been fantastic for us to both kind of be able to peak for the conference tournament, a good non-conference game. And we were in Golden Goal with them, and it was a very similar situation. But I think the fitness and everything that we've done to be able to push and still believe and just stay true to the tactics of what we needed to is, the training we do in, day out, kind of the standard that we set. That is the mantra of our program. So we were able to say, hey, just keep pushing to the standard and we'll like the result at the end. And they did a fantastic job. The team did a great job.
Over the last decade or so, Wagner's really kind of carved out a role here as one of the dominant teams in the MAAC and someone that you can expect to see at the NCAA level. This wasn't one of those seasons, though, where you just steamrolled everyone in the MAAC, right? It was, there were some challenges, 3 seed going into the MAAC tourney. What is that like in comparison to maybe years where you were more dominant from a record or a stat standpoint? How did that kind of shape the journey a bit differently this time around?
Well, 2 main things. One, our conference is deep. Our conference is really good. I think there's some competitive teams that weren't even in our conference final or our conference tournament, that we only had 4 teams in our conference tournament. So there's some teams that were left out that are quite competitive, and we had to push and work for all season. So that's one. The MAAC has gotten really better. So credit to all the coaches and the programs in the MAAC, 1. 2, our team is way different than we've had in the past. So last year we had 9 seniors. This year we have, been starting 2 freshmen, 3 or 4 been playing big impact players, and it just takes time, So there's a little bit of us and Ashley and myself and our staff talking about, like, at this point they'll get to where they're not freshmen anymore, and the growth of the program, it just takes time. So sticking to what our program has been about. And I think that's the big thing. We've lost all of our losses were to ranked teams. Whether it's non-conference or in conference play. So it goes to the strength of the MAAC again, but then also just learning how to win. This young group learning how to win throughout the course of the program. Yeah, I think this is the first time we haven't hit 20 wins in a long time. So that goes to the strength of schedule that we've had, but it ended up working out for us at the end. So we're excited.
Yeah, to that end, what sort of pride do you have in a season where it'd been very easy to say, we'll get them next year, right? We're young, we lost 9 seniors, like, we're building, but to still come through and win the title, what does that kind of say about what has been able to be built there on Staten Island?
I think it goes to the love we have for our seniors. So this is something that, going back, I will say, like, going back to my time at Michigan and just learning, being instilled with, with working with Marcella, was like loving your seniors. And that's something big that we've had, where our senior group, specifically our captains this year, Magliog and Francesca Senna, like, we weren't going to allow them to go out without a fight. And they weren't going to allow us to go without a fight. And I think that leadership has been transformational for some of these younger kids to be a part of something like this, to understand the cost of success and the standard it takes day in and day out to give yourself an opportunity, because that's really all we can do as coaches, is give them an opportunity and kind of see what happens. So that's really what it's been about, is, the kids doing the work and just the love we have for the seniors in the program, and just pushing them to something greater than they maybe thought we could. Or, I think the belief that they've had all year just speak volumes about the buy-in to our program.
Someone might be seeing your team for the first time tomorrow when you take on UC San Diego. We're talking here on Tuesday of NCAA Championship Week. You highlighted some of your veterans, but also some of your newcomers. Who are some folks, some names to know if someone's kind of looking for a primer on Wagner, they haven't really seen the Seahawks play at a high level in an NCAA tourney, maybe some new faces to keep an eye out for?
Well, I talked about the 2 seniors in goal. Francesco's on the Catino Award watch list. Magli Og, who's the first team All MAAC and had some game winners for us throughout the year. I mentioned briefly Catherine Mentz, our center. She's a junior from South Africa. She's had a tremendous year and really grown into a leader. And then a couple of our freshmen, Michaela Ulmer Luterdomu from Canada. She's been on the 1-2 side for us and really stepped up really big. Lacey Aquaro, a freshman as well, stepped into the role as our center defender. And then Estelle Ramon Torrent is from Spain, joined us in January. So it's kind of fast tracked into some opportunities. She's played defender for us as well. So those 3 freshmen have been key, but then also, a junior attackers, Mylan San Pedro Torella on the left side, and then Anita Arias Perez, like on the right side. She's done tremendous. So those 2 kids really push. So that's kind of our group that we've been pushing, and there's a lot of depth and balance. I would say balance is the biggest thing. So it's the first time we haven't had a 100-goal scorer in a number of years, but we've had, I think this is 5 over 50. So we have depth for sure.
You take on Concordia in this opening round match. If you win that, your big prize is you have to go meet Stanford. But to keep the main thing ahead of you here, this game with Concordia, as you scout them, as you look at that team, what are some things they do well? They remind me a little bit of Wagner in that they're not in the highest level conference, but they schedule tough and they aspire to be at that next level. They're just getting started as their first one. Seahawks have been there many times. What do they do well that gives you concern?
I think it looks like they have some team speed. Watching them on film, we watched them on our California trip. We saw them a little bit because we thought, we might collide at this moment. So doing some prep in the preseason has allowed us to be prepared here. But I think definitely they have, a couple kids that do a really good job getting out on the counterattack, creating some space. They have a couple kids that could really shoot. So they're a dynamic offense. And I think their zone with the 4-5 zone that they run, could force some problems for us. But I think if we're structured in how we attack it, I think, we understand what we need to do. But I think that, we need to come out with our press and dictate tempo with our counterattack. And I think we'll be good. But, Casey runs a great program, known him for years, from the club scene, age group, and kind of going through this coaching journey together. So it's been great. He does a great job.
Water polo, one of the preeminent programs at Wagner. You talked about coming out for preseason play. You guys routinely travel to the West Coast or to other parts far from New York to get the best games early. How do you kind of describe the support, the investment the department makes in water polo? It'd be a lot cheaper just to have you bus all over the place up and down the Northeast, but you go and find those games. How do you describe the support you get?
Admin has done a fantastic job for us. It's been awesome to be able to see the support that we've gotten over the last few years, and it's been building. Like, this isn't overnight. This has been, the administration has decided that they want to be successful in water polo, and they've done that for years. I think this is 14 years we've been in the conference tournament, or the championship final. So they've really supported us by allowing us, an opportunity to travel to the West Coast, to put energy and focus in recruiting, and supporting us with what we need to do to be successful. And we're starting to see that in some other sports here at Wagner. But it's fantastic to be able to get what we get from our sport administration. Yeah.
Your roster, a diverse mix of athletes from the U.S. and from Europe and Australia and elsewhere. I'm going to date myself here, but there was a great article years ago in the New York Times about St. Francis, Brooklyn, and I'm sure someone Carl Quigley, when he'd recruit guys, pick them up at JFK Airport almost sight unseen. They'd never been to Brooklyn. They just knew that was a place you could go to play water polo. I imagine things have come a long way with scouting, with video. You have so many athletes from other places. What's your process like? I imagine the word has gotten out on Wagner as a place you can go, and you have this big city experience. What's it like? What's your pitch to people, and kind of how's the pipeline developed to these places like Australia and Spain and elsewhere?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think we're a very unique program, running with my wife, with Ashley, and Piper, our 5-year-old daughter, travels with us all the time. So a lot of our kids, our student athletes are in the van or in the bus right next to our daughter. So I think when we say, we're a family, we believe that, we live that. So the kids that come sight unseen, like you say, or to New York for the first time, we can talk to their families about what they're getting from being here. And we are a family. We run the men's team and the women's team. It's like we have 50 kids. We really are the parents for a lot of these kids coming in, and we hold them accountable in ways that are going to allow them to be successful later in life, and that tough love. And that's what we sell. It's the honest truth of you're not always going to like it, but you're going to love it at the end. And I think that's the thing, that like the balance between New York City, what that has to offer, both, in maybe in business or in academics, that are things, life outside of water polo, and then the water polo that they're going to get, both playing, the best teams on the East Coast routinely and pushing with the schedule we get to be able to travel. Like, they're going to be a better version of themselves, and they're going to learn a lot about themselves. So that's really the kind of the pitch and what we're getting. And yeah, to the video and everything, like, we can focus a little bit more on who we're targeting, and character is the most important thing. We really focus on, some of the most important things in recruiting is kind of who you say no to, and really find people that are Wagner aware and want what we want. And I think that's how we've been able to be successful.
Talking about the campus as well, I think people don't always understand. I've had the pleasure of the Spiro Sports Center, right? It's not a massive aquatic facility. You schedule up, you go and play what we would call like the big water games. Mm-hmm. How do you account for, you don't have a giant pool, the game is played in a big pool? What does the training look like to work against maybe what you don't have on a day-to-day basis?
We have to be creative. I think that's the number one thing, is we're creative. Like, it would be one thing to just say that, hey, we have to swim all the time and, maybe swim more than some other teams because we're not getting the same fitness and conditioning in our counterattack drills or the space to be able to shoot. So we have to be creative with what we're doing, giving them opportunity, but we don't want to just swim the whole time. Like, they're here to play water polo. So we have to be creative with the things that we're doing to push them to be successful, and, just giving them progressions of what we're looking for, emphasizing and getting better at, and shaping the behavior to it translates in big water is what we're trying to do for sure.
That family atmosphere you described, with your family so intertwined in the program, how does that kind of keep things in perspective? Like, you still, I'm sure, hate to lose and love to win, but when your daughter's right there, like, I imagine that takes a little steam out of maybe the anger of a loss or the result or the ref or whatever it might be.
Yeah, no, I mean, people that know me, Ashley and I are very passionate, like we said, in game with the refs, with, pushing, with being competitive for sure. And then right at the end of the game, regardless of the result, our daughter has she's aware if we won or lost now, but before it was like, that didn't really matter. It was, just kind of being there and, okay, what's the next thing? Where are we going to eat? What are we doing? And that puts perspective in life. And like, it really shows us that the most important thing in sport is the relationships, because the win and losses come and go, but it's the relationships we have with our student athletes. And that kind of goes back to the recruiting, they being here as a family, putting things in perspective of what's important. And I think that ultimately allows us to be successful when we can lean on each other in the tough times, because they know we've been put through a lot together. So it really has, kind of put this competitive culture, and everything going together goes into our team's success, our program's success.
The Seahawks have had the opportunity to be in that playing game, to win that game, to get into that Final Eight, and then in kind of the pre-playing game era also start in that Final Eight. What's the next step? I mean, is it as simple as we want to win a quarterfinal and get to a semifinal? Like, when you think big picture down the road, what else do you aspire to do with this program?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a goal for us. And I think, maybe like how we're looking at it that is one of the goals. But so either way, you're going to have to take down an MPSF team, or, a team that's a top 3, top 4 to be able to do that. And I think we're a little bit away from that being the goal, especially this year with the season that we had, but we're building, we're young. And I think that is the aspirations that we have, if we're being honest, of we want to do that, but we're kind of aware of where we're at and the limitations we have. But that's definitely the goal, and we're taking steps towards that daily to try to build for that in years to come, for sure.
And then I had a Staten Island related question for you that I'll close with. But before that, what's something people should know about this team that maybe you're proud of, doesn't get talked about enough, but you just really appreciate about your squad?
I mean, we talked two things. One, like the love that they have towards our family, like we were, we're lucky enough to be in San Diego now. We took a little time to the beach and just seeing our daughter be with the girls and the team at the tide pools, just like kind of hanging around and them encouraging her to do new things and experiences that what they've given to our family. We can't say enough. And it's both the men and the women, to be honest. What they've given to our family, we're very grateful for that. And then two, like our team is gritty and we work for everything. We've talked about, kind of being under-resourced and the things we have with the pool and the support we get from administration to give us opportunity, but we're gritty. I mean, we work for everything. So that's the things we're most proud about, is being a family, loving each other, and just working hard, for sure. Backbone of our program.
You're in fish taco territory right now, San Diego, but when you're back on the Rock on Staten Island, what's the go-to? What's the thing that you love there, food-wise, that's maybe better than anywhere else?
I mean, there's a couple. So we definitely have a Mexican spot that we hit, Sophia's Taqueria, that's walking distance from the house, which is great, just down the hill. But there's a few, Tony's Brick Oven Pizza is great, is really good for us. So that's probably a go-to that we hit a little bit more than we should. But being in Staten Island in that area, like you kind of got to, it's awesome.
There's pizza in every corner. It's almost a religion. Hey Josh, thanks for the time as always. Good luck to you and the Seahawks, and wishing you all the best this week in San Diego.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate everything you do for the sport. Thank you.